This video, I'm going to go over 5 steps that I use to negotiate with multi-billion-dollar companies, little house deals, and sellers. I actually use the exact same framework. Okay, if you don't know who I am, my name is Franklin Cruz. I own a company called True Investors Development. This land I'm walking on right now, we actually own, and we're doing the first butterfly roof community in the last 100 years here. And I've done some other cool projects, like sold a 9-acre parcel to KB Homes for $1.25 million, but I converted one house to 41. Then they later on actually named the street after my family. It's called Cruz Court. If you want to look it up, 7187 Cruz Court. Lakeland, Florida was the first one. And I've done 20 other projects as well. Let's get into it. Yes, I am a military veteran too. So the 5 things that I use when it deals with negotiating, I keep it really simple. Number 1 is you got to find out what the goal is. What is the goal of all the parties? You know, what is the goal of the seller or the buyer? You know, I've negotiated, for example, with Opal Fuel, right? Billion-dollar fuel company, right? And so I had to negotiate with Opal Fuel and People's Gas on the same exact deal. And what I established first is, what is their goal? They wanted to buy a small sliver of our land, and we own 131 acres off of Polk Parkway. And so on this 131 acres, they wanted to buy it. So you have to find out, again, what is the goal? Sellers, what is the, you know, this lady I bought the property from, Rhonda, what is her goal? Or Ralph, what is the goal? His goal, for example, on Ralph, hey, his wife just died. He wanted to get out of the property. And he didn't even need all the money right now. So usually the goal would say, look, how much money do you need right now if there was no mortgage right now? If there was no mortgage and you just got some cash, what does that actually look like? So what does that look like? I have no idea, but you got to ask them. So you got to figure out what is the goal. And then number 2, what are the facts of the deal? Meaning, when it deals with the property, what are the facts? Have some notes. What are the facts of the deal? So what I mean by that is, what's his facts? Wife just passed. What is the mortgage on the property? What does that look like? How much does he owe on the property? How much cash does he need right now? These are dealing with the facts of the deal. What is the facts, right? Now what we're thinking about right after that we're looking at the facts, is saying, okay, I'm gonna put some sunglasses on because this is hot. So now what we're looking at is saying, okay, so we've got the facts of the deal. I've got the goal. Number 1 is always, what I found out, is establish the goal. I've done this over 107 times with sellers face-to-face in their kitchen table. And I always found this formula just worked every single time. It always worked. It never not worked. And so goal, facts, then you want to go with, I call the fast, slow, creative solution. So right after you figure out what is their goal, now you're figuring out the facts of the deal. It's like, basically, what are the facts? What are we working with here? What does this look like, right? So like, for example, on this piece, hey, this is 9 acres, super great, love it. Okay, what are some facts? Well, the facts are, we actually have utilities on site, because look, there's this mini manhole. Okay, so that's good. Let me search on this one, right? These are facts. This adds value. Not all facts add value, but the more facts that you know, the better. You can actually use this framework almost on anything as well. Even with, like, if you're having spousal issues or whatever, or you just want to have better communications, like, hey, what's the goal here? Goal is we want to stay married. Great. Okay. What are the facts? Okay, I think there's some miscommunication. This is actually what I said, but this is what you think I said. Okay, great. Let's figure out, where was this miscommunication at specifically, and now how are we going to resolve it, right? So now we're going into the actual facts. So now you've got the next thing. So you've got the facts. Now you got a fast, slow, creative solution. So fast, when it deals with a deal. If I'm purchasing a deal, saying, look, fast way that I could actually do this is, I'm going to give you a lower price. You know, this is after establishing how much the property is worth, how much rehab does the property need, you inspected the property. There's a lot more to it. I call it the checkpoints of a deal, right? So if you're dealing with the checkpoints of a deal, now you got to factor in, okay, I got their goal, I got the facts, right? And now I got to find out. Now we're gonna go, now again, before you even get into this deal, you have to show them the value. So I always bring an appraiser with me, or if somebody's purchasing my property, I wanna establish, okay, what is the value what can they get out of this? So like when I did the deal with People's Gas and Tico, right? Or it's People's Gas, I'm sorry. People's Gas, it was technically Opal Fuel and People's Gas. So with that deal, super cool. We'll stay here for a second because of the shade. So with that particular deal, all right, so in that particular deal, super cool, right? This is the way it worked out, is I did some research and I found out the way they were gonna value our parcel was basically, what was their options on my deal? So they approached me, I approached them. So I started figuring out their options were, they could deal with me, one person, or they could actually deal with the neighbors across the street, and there were 9 of those. Meaning they had to negotiate with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a lot. So I, in my head, was saying, you know what, I wouldn't want to do that. So they offered us one amount of money, but when I found out what their goal was and the facts of the deal, I found out that I could give them a fast price, a slow price. I'm going to renegotiate, or a creative deal. The creative deal, what I thought about was like, I want perpetuity. I want a couple cents out of the fuel, the natural gas that's coming out of this, because they're going to do extremely well. They said that's not even on the table. I said, damn it. Okay, so then the other way I looked at it was fast. So fast was, if I held out, they may not turn back to me, but it's risky. It's risky when you're negotiating, because you're like, man, you know, the best part of the best way to negotiate is when you don't need anything at all. But at this time frame, I was like, man, we really want to get this deal done because we do need it. But also you never want to give that off, right? Kind of like if you're talking to a beautiful woman, you don't want to share with them that you're super interested, because that's going to turn off anybody. You just want to like, take it easy. Let me see if I got it. You like my face, I like your face. Let's figure out if we can have a conversation, right? And hold that for longer than a day. So anyway, moving forward. I can say that now that I'm single, right? So moving forward. So what I did was, we raised what we wanted pretty significantly, but I also didn't raise it too much that they would not be interested. And so establishing the deal with Opal Fuel and People's Gas, I found that a sweet spot that if I got them a number that I think they would take, they would pull the trigger. I found the sweet spot. They pulled the trigger in 7 days. In 7 days, we got a significant wire in just 7 days. And I'm talking about, yeah, it was interesting. It was a big one. I had to sign a disclaimer, so I can't disclose how much, but it was a good amount. You're talking, yeah, you're not 7 figures, but for basically buying a tiny sliver of land, even super high 6 figures is pretty damn good, at least in my day, and we weren't expecting that. So anyway, so long story short, this is when you're negotiating, this is what you're thinking about, is the fast, slow, or creative solution. So fast is, you have to, again, there's checkpoints, but at this particular checkpoint of the actual negotiation, fast is basically, hey, low cash deal, but you get it fast, because I got to take a lot of risks now. Now, slow, I always work with a realtor broker. And this realtor broker, basically I say, look, you know, slow is we help you list the property. At the end of the day, you'll get more money, because I truly, truly care about the seller. Every deal, I call it my forever customer. Every deal I look at like I'm dealing with my mom, you know. So my mom passed away when I was 10 years old. And from there, I actually got adopted a couple years before my mom passed, the foresight of my mother, which was awesome. But I always think about that, which is like, how would you treat your mom or your favorite, your client that you love the most? For me, it was my mom. I love my dad, but obviously my mom's it. So I always look at every person like Nancy. So I said, okay, if Nancy was here, what deal would I do with Nancy and still create a win-win? Because I'm a big believer, like, look, say what you want, man. We don't even know how we wake up in the morning. Like, consciousness is like out there. So if you're religious, it's spirituality. If you're not, it's consciousness. Like, we don't even get it, but what I do know is that we're connected to everything, and the creator, whoever you want to call it, did this stuff on purpose. And if you don't believe me, talk to a funeral operator and he'll tell you, hey, when you're dead, right? So for me, it was establishing and saying, okay, how do we actually create a win-win every single time with a seller picking it up? And so everybody's Nancy. So how we do that is we give them the offer of a slow. I did that with Ralph. There was a guy named Ralph at 1339 Tom Watson. Another story time, right? And we did a creative deal. And the creative deal, then you could switch to the creative. So slow is listing, fast is cash offer right now, slow, very low cash. Slow is listing, just have a listing partner, somebody that you can, gain some kind of profitability out of. I typically just do, I'll pay for the marketing, they pay for, professional drone work and photography. That's the other thing. Make sure you make it a no-brainer for the person you're dealing with, that 100% they're going to want to use you rather than somebody else and sign the paperwork right then, because you're offering them 10 times more than anybody else. So normal realtors can't afford to do drone work and photography and spend $2,500 per lead to get in front of that seller like we can as developers and investors. They just can't, because they don't make that kind of margin. So anyway, long story short, with Ralph at the Tom Watson property, what we established was saying, okay, here's how we'll do it. Is I gave him all three offers. Then I said, hey, which one are you leaning towards? You can use that closing line if you want. I use it every time because I just ask him, where are you leaning towards? I'm not going to pick for you. And he said, well, I just want 40 grand and you could take over my mortgage. And then when you sell it, you sell it. I was like, damn, really? I thought he was going to take the other one because he could make more money. But again, his wife just passed. He wanted out of it. And he just wanted to move on. And so that kind of shocked me in a way, but I was like, all right, And he left immediately. We helped him move. That's one thing. His big thing is he was a older gentleman, and we're like, okay, we'll help you move. Perfect. And we did. And it worked out perfect. I don't even know what to say to that, right? It really worked out perfect. So we did that deal. But again, the framework is simple. Number one, treat every single client like the one person you love the most. Golly. You know what I'm talking about. Treat them like the one person you love the most. Because you'll never do that person wrong. So every client is that person. And so that's how I look at it. Every client's Nancy. Even if people come to my 2-day, I'm not doing a 2-day for whoever comes. I'm always doing it for my mom. Because I know if her last whatever thousands of dollars I charge for this or her consulting, like, I got to give it all I got. That's why I do the 600-page playbook. I do that for a reason. Because, again, if my mom was here, how can I make sure, like, she's going to win? So, hopefully this helps. And if you're interested in that 2-day thing, you can apply. Go to truedevelopers.com or somewhere there'll be a link. So hopefully you got this. I got something out of this. This is what I call the seller's decision framework. So the seller's decision framework, again, find out their goal, find out the facts, and then come up with a fast, slow, or creative solution. You got this. Man, it's pretty outside. All right, bye.